friends, guests, faculty, staff, and my fellow graduates.
Excuse me, sir.
I want to also say a very special thank you to my wife, who's here in the front. On Wednesday, she just had her second mastectomy in 15 months fighting breast cancer, and she's a trooper. Wouldn't be here without her. John Kennedy once said, "A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on." All great civilizations throughout the history of humanity have been built upon, defined by, and remembered for their great ideas. Often these ideas challenge the status quo. They were unpopular, misunderstood, and contentious. The development, quality, and exchanging of these ideas are the rocks on which open and democratic societies are built. From ancient Greece to Europe and the Enlightenment to the blueprint of our American democratic experiment. These ideas and those who dared to think them oftentimes were changed the world in which they live, but also changed the world in which we live in today. Today, we sit at a crossroads. We're at the precipice of the rest of our lives. When we walk across this stage and we receive our diploma, we become part of the educated elite. We're part of the select few who have the training and credentials to shape the collective cognitive map of our society. We join the ranks of Socrates, Thomas Jefferson, Albert Einstein, and Martin Luther King Jr. Like those thinkers who have come before us, we have an obligation to our fellow man and to posterity, to contribute to the ideas which will shape and define our culture today and for generations to come. To ensure that we do this to the best of our ability, we must overcome self-interest. We must resist the forces which seek to direct and suppress our ideas and engagement. We must combat the entrenched forces of status quo and apathy. Today, we must also overcome the tremendous problem of division in our country. We must let that which unifies us outweigh that which divides us. We must recognize our own humanity in one another, and our shared quest for knowledge, truth, and a better way must override partisan and ideological differences. Now, for the past 4 years, we've worked on the skills of forming ideas and sharing them with one another. But this does not end today. It merely transitions into a new form. A form that is not limited by class periods or semesters. From now on, our quest for knowledge is shared with the rest of the human community. We have this obligation to the perfectibility of mankind to feed our quest for knowledge. Our ideas and discourse must be driven by a sense of justice, motivated by purpose, and compelled by love of our fellow man. Love of our fellow Americans who need a strong social safety net. Love of those without access to education, adequate health care, or food and shelter. We must have love for our local communities infected with violence and crime. We must have love for our brothers and sisters who live each and every day without hope or opportunities. And with this love, we must develop our ideas firmly on a podium of righteousness. Together we will take up our charge as the educated, the leaders of thought, the thinkers of ideas, and we will shape the world of today into a more equitable, prosperous, peaceful world of tomorrow. We must leave this world in a better place than it was when we found it. In closing, I am reminded of the words of Leon Wieseltier, editor of the New Republic magazine. In an open and democratic society, a thoughtless citizen is a delinquent citizen. I implore you today, do not be delinquent of your obligation. We must choose knowledge and discourse over thoughtlessness and apathy, integrity over popularity, and we must choose love of one another and the hopes of a better world over all else. Thank you.
Dear Chancellor